Good. Let's get on going on the material. We know that there's a lot of people, or some people joining slightly late, and then there's always an option to watch this also online from the YouTube channel. But anyway, so welcome everybody. This is the special interest group for Patterns and Practices Sites Core and PowerShell, including obviously the provisioning engine. And this time we have a few topics which we wanted to go through, kind of about what has happened around this area within the last 2 weeks and what's coming up in the November release as well. And then hopefully we will have some time for open discussion. But let's get on going on the slides so we can actually, well, there's a few demos which we'll go through today. So, first of all, if I can get things moving. So SharePoint Patterns and Practices is all about giving you people guidance, samples, solutions, reusable solutions, and MSDN articles and all of that. And the themes are around SharePoint Framework, SharePoint Adding Model, Microsoft Graph, and Office 365 development. AKMS SP PnP or SharePoint BMP is the one pager where you can find all of the links, and it's a massive page, we know. We are looking into having let's say redesign for that page, but unfortunately there's some resource constraints on the dev.office.com side around that. So it will be a massive amount of links for time being. Anyway, SharePoint BMP is owned by the SharePoint Engineering, and we want people and we want help our partners and customers to be successful within the SharePoint customization. So anything related on SharePoint customization from an API perspective or a customization perspective in future, we're going to use the BMP as the guiding or the process to guide you guys through all of these changes. So let's move on the actual topics, and my clicker doesn't seem to work properly, but that's fine. We're going to talk about quickly the changes still on office hours and special interest groups. We covered that already last time, 2 weeks ago. We're going to slightly touch that today as well, because it might be that some people missed that. We're going to slightly share what the BMP core team is working and where the community can assist, and then there will be an open discussion and a feedback in the end. And we'll try to be relatively fast on the topics, and let's see how the discussion then goes from there. And feel free, by the way, to interrupt us anytime with questions on the IM window. I can see them, and we have a lot of core team members in the call as well. One thing, this is a classic slide in the special interest groups. Obviously, if you're interested in helping the BMP initiative, the easiest way to help us is just by simply using the samples, core component, and guidance. And from a SharePoint engineering perspective, that's something what we want to promote as well, because if you're using those samples and guidances, we will help you through the burden of any upcoming changes within a SharePoint. If you have chosen to use whatever random approach within your customizations, we don't actually know about them. So we will absolutely give guidance on the PMP transforming from PMP topics, for example, the modern team sites. But then if you have used some sort of a completely different things, we are not aware of that, so we can't actually provide that guidance. But using samples, a core component, and guidance, absolutely important. And obviously, when you start using them, give us feedback. It's what works, what doesn't work, what's a good thing, and use, and I need to update that slide. Use the Microsoft SIG community for providing us feedback, not Yammer, because Yammer is no longer there, or the Office 365 network is no longer there. And then use issue list in the GitHub as well. Extend or improve existing samples extending is preferred option, but you can also include additional samples in the BMP repos as well. Those are more than welcome, but if there is an existing sample which is close on what you're doing, let's rather extend that so we don't have multiple overlapping samples. Fix issues which you encounter. So if you have time and you're willing and you find an issue and you fix that for your customer or for your deployment, it would be pretty nice if we would actually get that one fixed or submitted as a pull request to the BMP assets as well. Many of the BMP core team members are doing this work on their own time, because we simply do not have resources for all of the questions and all of the support what we're providing. So we're doing this for the goodwill for the community as well. So we would hopefully get also feedback back and submissions back from the community, which seems to be working quite well. So people are submitting quite a lot of stuff and pull requests related on core component and PowerShell as well. Good. Quickly on the PMP community course, kind of an introduction slide, just making sure that everybody is aware of this. The SharePoint framework and JavaScript special interest group concentrates on the SharePoint framework, so the modern UI customizations, and well, whatever we will come up with a SharePoint framework side in the future. That has a bi-weekly call. It used to be a weekly call, but now it's bi-weekly call on every second Thursday of a month. And the next one is not tomorrow, the week after that. Then we have this PMP core/PowerShell special interest group, which is more concentrating on the PMP core component, the PMP provisioning, and the PMP PowerShell, because they all relate between each other. And this is a bi-weekly call. This used to be called office hours, but we kind of rebranded the same call to be the PMP core component special interest group. And then we do have the monthly community call, which is more around us telling what has happened as a summary within the month. The special interest group calls are more meant to be, let's say, interactive. So these are not meant to be me or somebody else in the core team just talking. It's rather meant to have you guys an opportunity to ask questions. If you have a challenge, we can have an open discussion and all of that within this course. All of these calls are getting recorded and they are getting published in our YouTube channel at AKMS SPPNP videos. Moving on things, so something new which went live, or the announcement went live today. I actually published this out already last Thursday, but I didn't tell anybody. So we have now on-premises NuGet packages for CSAM, the native SharePoint client-side object model, available within the NuGet gallery. So this isn't directly related on the PnP. This is more related on the SharePoint, native SharePoint. But what we did was that we, from an engineering perspective, we realized that there has been a long-lasting ask for getting the client-side object model on-premises versions as a NuGet packages as well. In the past, these were not only available as an MSIs. So what we decided to do is essentially release an exact same assembly versions as a NuGet packages. So now if you are targeting on SharePoint 2013 or SharePoint 2016 within your development, you can reference these NuGet packages directly from NuGet Gallery, and you do not have to have a pre-requirement of installing an MSI to the computer. And these will be used by the Visual Studio, the upcoming Visual Studio update. I can't remember what's the right name for it. Visual Studio, is it 15? Is the code name, and whatever it will be called eventually. They will reference these NuGet packages as well, so that whenever you are creating a provider-hosted add-in, all of these are pulled down automatically for your projects as well.
There's a question about this. What's the version of these assemblies that we push out? Do we push out RTM version or SP1 version?
I didn't add those in this particular slide. So it's in an announcement blog post in the devoffice.com/blogs. So for the SharePoint 2016, it's the RTM version of CSAM. For SharePoint 2013, it's the April 2015 CU. And those are essentially matching exactly the versions of CSAM versions which we had in MSIs as well. In on-premises, we have this classic challenge. We went through this a few times last spring in the office hours. We have the classic challenge of we cannot control what's on the server side. So let's first cover the SharePoint Online. So in SharePoint Online, we in Microsoft, we know exactly what is the version which we are running in server side in SharePoint Online. So therefore, we can actually decide when we want to release a CSAM version, and we kind of release a CSAM version matching the server side, which is in SharePoint Online. So we can control that. In on-premises, we are in a kind of a much more nastier situation, because if you use a new version of CSAM, the newer version of CSAM, let's say that if we would actually take an August 2016 CU CSAM for SharePoint 2013, it would require that the server side of SharePoint 2013, where you use that CSAM, would be the matching version as well. And that would mean that if any of your customers are running an older version, your customizations would not work. And that's really the reason why we needed to align with the MSIs, which are available in a download, Microsoft download as well. Nigel is absolutely correct. April 2015 CU, that is agent. On the other hand, for SharePoint 2013, we haven't actually published that much new APIs after that April 2015 CU. So that was actually a relatively big release from a CSAM perspective. There was additional capabilities like language settings, regional settings, if I remember correctly, for on-premises as well. There has been few adjustments after that, but not that many things. And you can absolutely use these CSAMs to a newer version of a server. So the server is always backward compatible against client-side object model. But if there would be a new property in client-side object model in the newer versions of CSAM released for SharePoint 2013, you can still use them. They are actually available in the server side, in the ISAPI folder. So if you know exactly what is your target environment, and you know exactly that the server side of the target environment is, for example, August 2016 CU, you can absolutely use a newer and later version of the client-side object model. But this is really related on the classic challenge, because we do not control the server-side version. We can't really be guaranteed on what's available on the other side. And this is, somebody might say that it's a design fault in a SharePoint, but if that's the case, we would actually more than welcome input how we would solve that, because we've been trying to figure out how to avoid the situation. And it's not actually that easy as it first may sound. If you have any input around this one, please use the Microsoft Tech community and also the blog post comments, for example, for your input around and suggestions if you would like to have newer versions or whatever, so we can have an open discussion around this. Good. Quickly just showing this in practice, I'm going to just quickly jump and share my screen just to make sure that people can actually find them. We're in NuGet.org. If we look for the CSAM, the on-premises CSAM things, it's Microsoft SharePoint Online CSAM was the online NuGet package, which we had released in the past as well. We essentially decided then to follow up on the naming convention, and we released then Microsoft SharePoint 2013 CSAM and Microsoft SharePoint 2016 CSAM as the packages for on-premises. And they are also having the version information in the description, so you know exactly which versions are actually released. And the NuGet versions are matching with the CSAM versions as well. So this might be helpful for you if you're writing against SharePoint Online. Then please use the Microsoft SharePoint Online CSAM. You cannot use this. Well, technically you can, as long as you don't hit an unsupported method, but in practice you cannot use this one against SharePoint 2013 or SharePoint 2016, or you might run into unexpected situations. In practice, from a development perspective, so the same thing in here. If I go manage NuGet packages and I search for Microsoft SharePoint 2016 CSAM, I can see that over there. We can see the package, I can install that, and what actually happens is that we're pulling down the needed assemblies to be able to do development against SharePoint 2016. These packages are relatively simple and they're fast to install. They only have the client-side object model for .NET 4.5, so they're not as big as, for example, the SharePoint Online NuGet package, or the MSI actually had multiple different setups there as well. So we wanted to keep them as clean as possible. If you need to have something else, please let us know and give us feedback around what's missing, or there's some issue or whatever. Let us know and we can try to figure out how to fix that as fast as possible. And for example, in this case, well, now I have the assemblies, and now I do not need to worry about what has been installed to the GAG, which is one thing why we want to keep these in line and with the MSI packages. If we would release a newer version of these assemblies, comparing to the MSI packages, we would not be, unless we change the assembly version, we would not be able to confirm that we're using assemblies either from GAG or from the NuGet package. And we're looking into if that's needed in the future. And again, your feedback is more than welcome. We're looking into doing that as well. So we're speculating on that, but that requires such a significant amount of new resources because we need to rebuild our build process. We didn't want to do that for now, or we were unable to do that for now. We might do that in the future, but your input is required on that. But that's it. And now I could be able to actually do something like, hey, where's my PMP console main? There we go. Oh, never mind. Not going to actually start coding against SharePoint 2016 at this point, or SharePoint 2013. I actually added a SharePoint 2016 NuGet to my project, even though this is called SP 2013. Highly confusing. Cool. I'm going to switch back on the slides. That was really relatively quick demo, just to pinpoint where you're going to find them and that they are available. And in the NuGet side, in the NuGet gallery, you can see it underneath the Office Developer Platform, which might be slightly confusing as well. But at some point, the ownership of this ID was moved to SharePoint Engineering, and now we own that. So we're using the same ID, which was used to publish the SharePoint Online season as well. And kind of a quickly related on that one, if you need to promote this somewhere, or you need to share additional information on top of this video, we just published this blog post, which is the SharePoint season versions for on-premises released as NuGet packages into dev.office.com. So this one is mentioning the versions, mentioning also and referencing, for example, the challenge around or the guidance around the season versioning challenge. So that's a classic blog post which is explaining what's the issue of us not being able to actually publish 2 new season versions. Good. Let's move back on the slides and we'll do a few demos while we move from here. And please tell me again when we get the presentation back.
Yeah.
Okay, that was fast. Cool. So a few other things. Issue list. We talked about this one 2 weeks ago. If you have availability, if you have interests, you want to contribute, you want to help us, and you're not kind of sure that, hey, I want to help, but I don't know how. Easiest way to do that is actually go to the issue list, and we have tagged some of the issues with the community task label. And these are relatively, I wouldn't say simple, but many of them are more around, hey, can you test, is this still an issue within your environment if you're using the latest NuGet package? And that would be highly beneficial from our side as well, because then, I would say that there's quite a lot of issues we know which have been resolved, but we haven't had a time actually to test them out. So if you're running, for example, SharePoint 2013, SharePoint Online, or SharePoint 2016, and you would have an opportunity to test, for example, lookup field capabilities, all of that information would be highly beneficial. So we know, is it closed, is it still happening or not? But we do understand also that you need to run your own business and you need to do your own business work. So obviously, depending on your availability and willingness to spend your time on that. Few notes around the PowerShell side. So in the November release, obviously there will be updates on the existing commandlets. Irvin, our PowerShell master, has been working on those, and there has been improved automated testing as well. There will be a webcast on next Monday with me and Bert, where we kind of explain how the automated testing works in the PMP. It's not probably super popular webcast, but it's also showing, if you're interested on doing something similar within your customization perspective, you can actually copy the model. So we're explaining how we are doing testing of core component and PowerShell, and how you can figure out and follow up what's happening and what's working and what's not. There's a few new commandlets coming in November release of the PMP PowerShell. One is the get SPO folder, and the other one is get SPO provisioning templates from gallery. And I'm not going to actually explain what these are. I'll rather let Irvin to talk about at least the provisioning template commandlets in a demo. So Irvin?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Let me share my screen.
There we go. I can actually see the screen. I got it. I'm pretty close though, but we can assume that that Yeah.
PowerShell session open. Okay, so 2 commandlets. They're effectively pretty simple. The first one is get SPO folder. I just noticed that there wasn't a commandlet that returns an actual folder object, which might be interesting at times to use. So the usage of the commandlet is pretty simple. Get SPO folder. Relative URL. So for instance, I'm connected already to a site. I want the shared documents folder. Out comes an object that I can use. So if I put this one into a variable, and I say, so give me all the properties. So if you're a developer, you're familiar with all these properties. They're not all necessarily loaded. You might explicitly want to request some properties to be there, but the default ones are there loaded for you to use and do everything with what you want. So that's the get SPO folder, very simple. The other one is connected to the partner pack and the template gallery. So when we have the template gallery here, and you have these, currently there's only 3 templates in there, and we really hope that you submit more templates, and how to do that is actually listed in the bottom of this page. If you scroll all the way down, it's like an article about how to submit a template. But we have a couple of templates here, and say you want to create a site based on this absent vacation requests. Right now it requires that you either download the template, or you install the partner pack and use the partner pack to create your site collection based on the template. So if I click on this template there and I scroll a bit down, there's a download button. What we did now is create a commandlet that helps you in this process. So the commandlet is very intuitively called get SPO provisioning template from gallery. I could consider a longer name.
Is that the longest?
Yeah, it's probably the longest one. Actually. Yeah. Yeah. So if you just press enter, it will just show you all the templates in the gallery. I can add a specific, take a specific one. So if, for instance, take the absence vacation request or take the ID. And if I do identity and the ID, I get that specific template. And what it does, it returns the full template to me as an object. And this is in connection to the update to the commandlets we did a while ago, that you now actually can use this object to make changes. So if I put the result of this call, this commandlet, in a template object, then I have obviously the same thing. If I go in here, template, workflows, you will see that there's a workflow, absence of vacation approval workflow. I can make changes to these. We have appropriate commandlets for that too. And when I'm done with my template, or maybe I want to just use it as is, I can say apply SPO provisioning template, input instance template. And then it will apply this template that I have currently in memory. So there's no file on my file system that represents this template. And so I have this template in memory, and I can apply it to a site. So I can fully script the retrieving of the template and apply it to a site with actually the need of storing a file somewhere on the file system. Now, if you want to download this file for any reason, you can use the get SPO provisioning template commandlet. And if I take away the variable there and jump all the way to my end, and I say path and say I'm downloading it to temp, then it says saved as with that name. So you can actually figure out, so you can actually download the template if you want to. It will just download the file and stores it on your file system. Another thing this commandlet does is instead of identity, you just press search. That comes handy if you have, if we have more than 3 templates in there and you want to figure out what a template is, just a key, and it returns those templates that match, that contain that letter in the display name. Or, so it's just a wildcard search, effectively. So what we are thinking of doing, but what is not the case right now, is that you can actually specify this ID directly in apply SPO provisioning template. So that might happen within a week or 2, so before the November release. So you don't have to go through, first give me the template and then apply it, but you can actually apply it directly from the gallery, applying it to your site. That's all what the commandlets do. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And unfortunately they're a bit long. but yeah, so be it.
I don't think the length is a bad thing necessarily.
No,
Understand
I don't
what it
necessarily,
actually means.
no. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and there's a nice intelligence in PowerShell anyway for getting that.
Yep.
Cool. I'm going to actually switch back on the slides for a few slides, and then we're going to jump on my screen. My order was slightly messed up on the presentation because now we're switching between the screens and slides and screens and slides and personas, but that's fine. And quickly on Nigel, absolutely, templates are welcome. We do have, if anybody is interested on creating templates for SharePoint Online or for on-premises, and we do have guidance in the templates gallery. If you go to the templates gallery site, there's a link around there how to create them and how to submit them and where to submit them, and that's more than welcome. Right now we have those 3 templates, and those were really meant to be just as a starting point. So if somebody has a time and they want to build their templates, we should get up to 40 quite fast if we get a community on sharing their templates. And there is a video as well how to do that. And Paolo can probably have a look on the video, and that would be absolutely fabulous if we could get up to 40 templates. Good. So a few more things. So this is actually an interesting discussion point. So a lot of you were, or some of you were in the Ignite a few weeks back. And in the Ignite, we from SharePoint Engineering, we actually showed and announced some of the new modern team site capabilities. And one of the things which we announced was that every single group, an Office 365 group or modern, what do we call them? Office 365 groups, not anymore unified groups. Whenever you create a group, you will get a SharePoint site as well. And what you will get is exactly the modern team site. And this is something which will be rolling out relatively soon for first release tenants as well. And now, this is an interesting discussion. In the Ignite, we also announced that like mentioned, every single group will get a SharePoint site, and every single SharePoint site will get a group. That, however, will take a while because the detailed plan is under development on that one. But now, if you would have a desire to start using the modern team sites as fast as possible in the SharePoint Online, right now, whenever they will be rolling out, well, not right now, relatively soon, how would we actually do that? And the answer is that we would be doing that by provisioning groups, because the groups sites are actually modern team sites. If you start provisioning, if you only provision team sites or SharePoint sites, you don't actually get that modern experience and modern capabilities. And that means that we in the BMP site, we are working on an exact plan for the modern team site support in the BMP provisioning site, meaning the samples, including the BMP partner pack, including the engine as well. So we're looking into this one, and we will be moving relatively fast around this one. So we will enable the modern team site capabilities being supported in the BMP provisioning code as well. We will actually have a team meeting within 30 minutes where we will spend quite a lot of time on planning how we will make this happen within the BMP core team. And one kind of a side effect of all of this is also the fact that the modern team site, which was shown in an Ignite, I'm going to show that one in practice in a second as well, it actually has a slightly different capabilities than a classic team site. Up to the level of, if you are really in the insides of SharePoint, we're no longer provisioning STS-1 because it's not a team site which we associate to the group. It is actually a completely new site definition in the service, which you will never see because we're not going to ship that to on-premises most likely. Well, we'll see whenever the on-premises side of the story is ready. But it is not using the classic team site as a baseline. It is using something completely different, and that has slightly different capabilities. And that's something what we are working, will be working with the core team as well, to get the MSDM up to date on explaining what exactly is supported First of all, on the modern theme sites from a customization perspective. So what you can do, for example, how about branding, which branding elements are available, what about content types, site columns, libraries, and all of that. And then we'll reflect those supportability statements in the PMP provisioning engine as well, which will no doubt require some work. It might be, well, let's be realistic, most likely that won't be in the November release, but it will be included maybe on the December release. But we'll need to clarify all of these details as we move along. But this is super exciting, actually, because we have already concepts and proof of concept on how to make this happen. And we are able to actually also customize in certain level these modern theme sites from a branding perspective, and more capabilities will be introduced in the future for those sites as well. But this was shown already in Ignite, but let me quickly show you what it actually means in practice. I'm going to use just our MSIT capabilities for doing that. And let me do that in here, in this window. And please confirm whenever you are able to see what we're sharing. And Paula got it as well. Good. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to quickly jump to our Microsoft SharePoint tenant, and then I'm going to quickly click Create Site. So there isn't that much confidential information on the welcome page, but it's better not to show what we're modifying and what are we doing. This one we showed already in Ignite. So this is the modern end user experience where how you're creating a site or how you're requesting a site underneath the SharePoint. And let's actually walk this through and you'll see the modern theme site to be created. So let's call this PnP SIG, we call demo. It's automatically checking the URL. It's checking that it's available, my privacy settings, I can do a description, and this is certainly not high business impact site, it's a low business impact site, and that's fine. Demo from PMP call. And then I click next. It starts asking me the additional owners. So I'm going to use my typical set of owners. So Bert as the secondary owner, and let's add Frank Marasco there as well. And then I can add additional members to the site. And then clicking finish and magic. The site itself is already available. And that's actually pretty cool when I think of it, comparing to the existing experience when you are provisioning site collection, which can take up to minutes and minutes and minutes. With this experience, with a fine-tuned template, and also it actually does a small trick when you are creating this, when you start doing the flow. Whenever it actually requests me the title and description, when I click next for adding the site owners, it was already creating the site at that time. And then it was correct, but still it's super fast. It's like 5 to 10 seconds when it's actually creating the sites. So we've done a significant modifications and changes inside of the SharePoint service or SharePoint Online to make the site collection provisioning much faster. I'm not going to go to technical details how we did that, but you can say that the site collection is well created, and I can actually start using all of the capabilities from here. So this is the modern theme site. By default, it has the news capability, quick links. It has some activity listing showing using Delph. And if we go to the site settings, kind of a technical analysis on the site, we can also see that there's a much more less, for example, from a site settings perspective available by default. There are features to be, you can still activate features and all of that in here as well. So some of the classic capabilities are no doubt available. But the whole experience is modern. So all of the sites and documents and lists and libraries are by default then using the modern experience. You can still fall back on the classic. So there is the return to classic SharePoint experience in the libraries as well. And then going back on the home, we can see that it's a modern site. Now, this is actually a group. So what actually happened on the background is that we created, and actually we can see that it's a public group which was created. So it is an Office 365 group, but it's including a SharePoint site. From a SharePoint perspective, it's a SharePoint site, but then there's additional stuff happening in the background, and it's an actual Office 365 group. So finally getting to the, let's say, the right status of, oh, now it makes much more sense. Group is a site is a group, and therefore, oh, okay, we create a group, so therefore we get all of these capabilities by default. The SharePoint site and the group has an email as well, so you're able to then use that for your communications and all of that. And we can customize this site in certain level as well now. And that's the part which is now currently still missing. So the detailed guidance from a customization perspective, because we're not supporting all of the classic ways of doing customizations in these modern sites, and we need to no doubt get that documented in MSDN. So we clearly pinpoint that what's supported, what's not supported, and which of the capabilities can be used and which not. But that's still a work on the way. And probably that's it. Any comments on this one, by the way? Isn't it super impressive that it's super fast? There's a question from Dean around possibility for tenants that don't have Exchange Online mailboxes. Good question. I don't know. I wouldn't unfortunately know that. The one thing obviously around this one is that, how would I put it? Those partners and ISVs who've built their existing site provisioning automation solutions and all of that using the classic SharePoint sites, this will cause some changes, no doubt, and that's where the BMP team will help you. We maybe should have started our work around this group slightly earlier, but we'll catch up as fast as possible, and we'll start pushing guidance around this one as fast as possible, hopefully before it reaches to the first release status, so that we will minimize the impact for your business around this one. Or at least you will be completely aware what's available and how it works and how you can build similar or customize then your customization on top of that. Will there be a possibility to create templates for these modern sites? By default, so answer is no. So you can create, well, how would I put it? You can create PMP remote provisioning templates, but I think if I remember correctly, the classic save site as a template has been finally removed. Thank God. Yes, it is. Ooh. I would have been super surprised if it's actually here, because we had a session with me and Sean Squires in Ignite, and we told that this is something which you shouldn't be using anyway. But the PMP templates themselves, when I think of it, PMP template is not really a site template. It's configuration template, and you can actually apply configuration template on top of these sites as well. So these are SharePoint sites, and the PMP engine uses the SharePoint CSAM and REST APIs to apply configurations on top of it. And what that means is that our template can, for example, contain document library definitions, content type definitions, site columns, and all of that. And those will be applied on the site. Now, the front page itself, the customization story around that one, I can't comment on that one right away or immediately. Can I modify the front page how flexibly at this point? But we're looking into, from an engineering perspective, make sure that you can automate whatever you can see, you can automate as well, pretty much. So if you need to have a capability of adding, let's say, a new web port in this area, you are able to do that as well. Is it right now available immediately from day one? Unfortunately, well, we're not right now even in MSIT, but we're looking into making sure that those APIs are available sooner or later for the community to use. So you're able to customize the front page as well. One classic question with the modern team sites is also that, okay, this is the layout is quite simple. There's only one canvas, and it's piped from top to down as the capabilities, and right now that's what's actually supported. There will be then multiple canvases. Also, we will support eventually multiple canvas layouts, but the first release will be with a single canvas. And the canvas is the one where you can add web parts and functionalities on it. Can we composite templates at deployment type? Yes, you can. So the PMP provisioning templates, quite a lot of customers are actually offering or doing the PMP remote provisioning in a way that they, for example, have a one standardized template for branding, and then whatever the end user chooses as the template to be applied, then they maybe the differentiator is to what kind of document libraries are applied, and then they always apply the standardized branding. Or we've seen also some customers to provide a really cool custom UIs where the end user can go that, hey, I want to have a conversation, I want to have a branding, I want to have this widget, I want to have that widget and those libraries. So they kind of select from a menu what they want to have on sites. Every single item in a menu is actually a PMP provisioning template, and then when it's applied, there's multiple templates applied to the site. You can absolutely do that with the modern team side as well, but like mentioned, some of the extensibility points, like how do we customize the front page, is not right now there. Will it be there in the first release version? We'll see. Will it be there in the GA, global availability? That's absolutely the objective. But moving along nicely and pretty nice looking, and it's pretty darn impressive how fast it is actually to get this stuff provisioned, and that's going to obviously help on the future on many things. But we'll come back with the additional support, additional details around what's supported and how you can customize these sites using the BMP MSDN pages, or then and including the BMP samples in the future. We do have quite a lot of site provisioning samples in PMP, and we are then changing and modifying or introducing new ones to clarify what will be supported in the modern team sites as well. And yes, it is a big improvement, no doubt. Good. I don't have that much more on the slides. We can open up the discussion if there's any questions or open discussions. Just a quick note: we're gonna keep this in every single presentation. dev.ops.com/SharePoint is the future landing, or it is the landing page for SharePoint documentation, for SharePoint framework developer documentation. So we will keep on using the PMP MSDN guidance as well for some of the areas, because this is more around SharePoint framework, but the PMP MSDN articles will be mentioned or referenced in this landing page as well. So the dev.office.com/SharePoint should be the first page where you start looking into how additional guidance on SharePoint development. That page we're currently replanning. It's pretty confusing right now due to various reasons, but there will be a new landing page or a new look and feel for that page relatively soon. Well, relatively soon is a relative statement, but relatively soon. And let's open up this for open discussions and comments and questions around anything what we went through. Dean is asking, what's the deployment status of that functionality? I think you were referring to modern team sites probably. And I cannot disclose the dates when we're planning to actually get it out for first release tenants, but it's already used in MSIT. So we in Microsoft, we always dog food our stuff, which means that we hit all of the nasty bugs and issues obviously before our customers get their hands on it, and that's why you are able to see that in practice. So I was using our official Microsoft tenant for demonstrating that capability. It will be coming again sooner or later, but it won't be too long, let's put it this way, whatever that means. Any other questions, feedback, comments? We can help on technical issues or questions, or if there's issues around the core component or PowerShell, those are fine within this call as well. Any extra considerations for sites deployed this way to render correctly in mobile apps? So if you are creating a modern theme site, it will actually render by default in the mobile apps, and it will be fully responsive. So I didn't actually show you that one in practice, but the modern theme site is fully responsive natively, and you don't have to install any additional packages. All of the pages are scaling properly without any issues. That's. And I'm gonna mute Andrew from the line, no worries. So I can actually quickly show you that one in practice as well. So if I do one more time presenting a desktop, please tell me when you can actually see the site. So in a similar way, like with the Delve or any other new Office 365, native Office 365 capability, the new SharePoint, the modern SharePoint, is fully responsive as well, natively, without any customizations installed. And right now there's a pretty low level of supported customizations within the sites as well, which will be clearly stated out in our documentation. Larry got it, and that means that most likely everybody got it. So if I start rescaling this page, you can see that the page is nicely scaling based on a device. And there we go, our left menu is gone. And if I go slider, it's going to realign. How small can we go? That's the limit. And the limit is actually the picture, which is on the page. And this is pretty much what you actually see if you open up this site, a modern site, in the SharePoint, for example, Apple, iPhone or iPad apps, the native apps. This is pretty much what you see in that experience as well. So it's nicely actually scaling. And there's the search. Oop, I didn't want to do that. How do I get the menu back? I don't know. See all. No, that's not the one. I haven't actually used this in this small section. I can imagine that I can get the menu from somewhere. No, that's not the one. Is it that one? Yes, it is. That's the menu. It is actually pretty logical that it's there. So I can actually go to the documents library. And because documents libraries are using the modern experience as well, they're fully responsive. If I go to site contents, that's fully responsive as well. And there we go. And I can see even the news. So everything is fully natively responsive, which is actually pretty cool. Finally, it's been a while. Yes. But there's no such similar kind of animation what we have in the SharePoint UI responsive package for on-premises, which is for classic SharePoint sites and making them responsive. But it works pretty much the same way. Okay, moving back on unless there's questions around this one. I'm not going to actually move away if there's questions around this one, because the only slide I will be showing is open questions, feedback, comments. First tried to make most responsive in 2008. It's taken a while, yes. It does, yeah, we know that. And kind of related on that one, so just to make sure that we cover that. So we do have the responsive UI package, which is available. Oh, that's a webcast. I jumped to the webcast. That's fine as well. We do have a nice webcast where Paula is showing how to make that happen. Where do we actually have that? Responsive package in the PMP tool repository. Here we go. So this one is the UI responsive package for SharePoint 2013, 2016, and SharePoint Online for classic experience. And this is really around using JavaScript and CSS to make the page responsive when you are using the classic experience, and it actually scales then the page, hides the left navigation, does all of the things. If you're using some, let's say, some funky web parts or custom tables or whatever on your pages, it's not capable of doing magic or pixie dust, or there's no unicorns behind of this trick. It's just trying to align the page. But if your size or the web parts are funky, then it cannot do that. But it's pretty flexible already as such. And if you have a let's say a completely custom UI, it doesn't actually handle that properly. But that's, like mentioned, this is for classic experience, and then all of the modern experiences are natively responsive, which is super cool. So we don't have to worry about that. And there's a fair comment from Nigel. It is slightly different looking than the classic experience. It is actually pretty interesting. We should do a combination or collection of UIs: the modern theme site, the classic SharePoint Online, SharePoint 2013, SharePoint 2016 to 13 theme site, then going back on SharePoint 2010 theme site or SharePoint 2007 theme site. But technically what you can consider this is a completely new version, in the same way as when we moved from SharePoint 2010 to 2013, there was actually a pretty significant UI change. And yes, the end user accepted that as long as the experience and the capabilities were better in the newer version. Comparing this to, again, 2007 from 2010, a pretty significant leap. Even bigger was from SharePoint 2003 to 2007. If there's people in the call who remember that, that was a massive change from a UI perspective. And this is coming to SharePoint 2016 R2. So the UIs themselves, the modern theme sites, sooner or later I think this will be landing on premises as well, or they are, because the SharePoint framework will be landing in on-premises as well. But that's during next calendar year. So at some point, as part of the feature packs, all of these modern experiences will arrive to on-premises as well. But still, as an administrator, you can always control that, no, I'm not ready, or my end users are not ready, and you can go to the tenant level and switch back on the classic mode. And you can wait until let's say you've done your change management and training for your end users, and then you can flip it back on the modern experience if that's what you're looking for. All of this is configurable from a tenant administrative perspective. Good, and a good comment from Bill around it is inevitable for mobile view that the experience is slightly different, or the experience, the UI has to be different so it's able to scale between the devices. Good. Nigel is writing. Still, if there's any other questions, comments, we still have a few minutes time to go through, and we'll close up a few minutes before the hour, unless there's a significant amount of questions. Anyway, like mentioned, we in the core team will work on the provisioning guidance for these sites as well. So it will be then available whenever the modern theme sites will be released to be publicly available as well. And final chances for question. Dean is still writing something. Let's check that one out. But we don't have to hang online either. In a tenant without EXO, we uploaded images to SPO user profile. They are not showing in Delph. Oh, okay. I'm not super surprised, but that would be a wrong person to comment that on detail. I would actually open up a support case for that. So I would actually just open up a classic support case in SharePoint Online first, unless you have a Premier support, asking that is this supported? Why aren't this working? It might be just simply because Delph isn't supporting that option for the time being, or might not. But I would be, we in this core, from a core team perspective, we would be wrong persons to comment on that. Search doesn't seem to follow the settings from Site Center. Will we be able to direct searches from search box to search center? Should we stop teaching users to use? Oh, good question. Personally, I like the idea of moving people to a one centralized search center, and that was what I was doing in all of my classic deployments and designs as well when I used to be a consultant or Microsoft consultant in my past. But I don't know, at least. I can't comment that we have made a massive decision that we should only search, or we are only controlling the experience in a certain way. It's one of those things, it depends, most likely. Can we control that? How we can control that? I would be a wrong person that can mention that. I don't know if anybody else can give an input on that. So default search is in here, but then I can do all sites. Does it redirect me? No, it doesn't yet. It's actually doing this. So it's listing the results underneath that particular site by default. And then I can switch to probably to see all, and that's interesting. Is it actually redirecting me where? It's not redirecting me anywhere. So it's rendering the whole thing in here. Okay, never mind. I think we will release anyway more and more additional content on the modern team sites. This was more around because we showed the modern team sites in Ignite. I wanted to just reference that from a customization perspective and also from a provisioning perspective. Let's not even deep dive on the capabilities at this point. But it's 2 minutes until final closure of the meeting, and we can actually absolutely close the meeting at this point as well. I think that sums up the discussion anyway. So next week we'll have the special interest group meeting for SharePoint framework and JavaScript development. So if you're interested on that one, that's then next week. And this the core component special interest group is within 2 weeks, and I think that's on the And within 3 weeks, we will have a November master merge, November community call waiting for us as well. Hopefully, we will have some samples already available at that point for the new modern group or the modern team site provisioning. So we will be able to release at least simplistic samples by that time. But then the slightly bigger rearrangement for the engine will take a while. And let's be realistic, that will mean December from the engine perspective. But thank you everybody for joining, and the recording will be available within the YouTube channel, aka I'm gonna actually put this one in here as well, AKMS SB PnP videos within next 24 hours. There will be an announcement in the tech community's SharePoint dev group with the links to the right timing as well. But that's it. Thank you everybody for joining, and we'll be hopefully in touch. Thank you.